Hello everybody, welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company Sunday car service. First of all, good evening Ian, how are you?
Evening. I'm very well, thank you. Well,
you got sunshine there, by the way.
Within the boundaries of the fact the sun's decided to come out and quietly cook me at my workbench, as it has a habit of doing in the summer. I know. I've been working today and it's been a bit
sticky,
a bit busy, and so apart from that, yeah, I've just managed to catch the Grand Prix while I ate my tea.
Well, first of all, folks, I will two bits of housekeeping tonight. I will apologise. I am, as you can hear, I am a little bit under the weather at the moment. I thought it was hay fever, but it's not. It's a cold, which is why we've got the Lemsip here. At least I hope that's Lemsip. That's Lemsip. Also, a very big shout out to Mr. Ian Hartup. Don't know if you've ever heard of him, Ian, who single-handedly put together tonight's show, did all the news items, sent me all the images. So brilliant stuff. Thank you, Ian. That really was a big help today. So God bless you, Governor.
The appropriate comment that I've shared on my Facebook, this feed, with a comment which is typical mechanics one of, it's done that, mate. So yeah, it might apply to this. You never know your luck.
That's all right. Dan Wood says Lemsip cures all. It does. I tell you what, it does. Yeah, not wrong at the moment. Right. Before we dive on with the news, I've noticed in the notes that it says show notes, new stuff in my hand.
Yeah.
So, okay, you have the con, Mr. Hartup.
Now, I was struggling to get here. I'm running a little bit late, which is why I'm a bit out of breath. So this camera, oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's a bit wonky, isn't it?
Yeah, straighten your mat up.
Get your act together, Hartup. We talked about this a little while ago, and Casper from Zoom On has dutifully come up with the goods. This is a conversion for the Tamiya Fiat 500, which uses a lot of the parts of the Abarth that I built earlier in the year. Came back out in a limited reissue last year or the year before. It's not the simplest of conversions in that you've got to do a little bit of work around it, but he's covered most things. What you have is a very nicely made full shell.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is actually. I very rarely have anything to criticize about the Zoom On resin. They are always very, very nice. This is pretty exceptional. It's really lovely, really, really lovely. There's the usual bits of clean up to do, but you know, it's a resin body shell. What do you expect?
Do you know what, Ian? I'm just going to say, what strikes me about that is just how thin that all is. It's just the delicacy of that that frame on the quarter-deck windows. I can only imagine that has to be. Well, you can ask him on my behalf, but I would imagine that's probably centrifugally cast in order to get.
These tabs give that away. There's some kind of pressure or centrifugal casting going on here. It's not puddle cast like we used to get, that's for sure. The floor is obviously it's modified from the smear component. If anybody who's built the Fiat 500 will know what that looks like. I've got a little bit of warp in mine, which a bit of hot water should resolve. The thing is, obviously, this section of the kit, the injection molded kit, doesn't alter particularly. So if I can't get it straightened up, I'll do a
cut and shut
and go from there. But I mean, look at that.
That's very nice.
Yeah. It's really.
Please be sure to take some photographs and share them on the Facebook page.
I will. I will.
That's beautiful.
I tell you what, now there's the thing that got me was, and there's going to be a certain amount of shaking of little bags. I do apologize. Let me see if this close up will work. Are you going to focus on that, or are you going to focus on that? Okay.
This is where we need a Wayne's World extreme close up.
Extreme close up. Yeah, there we go. That is the door handles.
Oh
and
my
the
goodness
hinges
me.
for the doors. Aren't they lovely?
That's got to be centrifugally cast.
Yeah, I mean, my gut feeling for this is that these are 3D printed and then cast.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure. They're better than the kit ones, that's for sure. Also, better than the kit ones, that's for sure. There's a set of wheels and centers which are specific to this variant of the 500, so that you can use them instead of the kit ones. There were 4. There's the 4. You've got a new tailgate lifter. These are bits of the roof, which is what I'm coming to in a minute. We've got some clear cast tail lights, which because the Giardinieri had a different set of lights to the standard 500. You've got a back bumper, obviously, because again, that's going to be different. That is the badge mount for the bonnet there, and there's a recess in it, and there's one of those self-adhesive chrome type stickers for it, and then there's a decal. So it's a proper layering up. There's a very nice nameplate on the decal sheet, window surrounds. It's on the etch sheet rather, number plates, wipers if you really want to become masochistic. The worst thing in the world, photo etch wipers, but they are that way. Some nice grills, which go, I've got to get this right now. They go back there, I think. But, you know, as a package goes, very nice. The thing I did like was there is an option for a closed roof. But there's also, and that's what these 2 pieces are for as well, a cast folded Webasto.
Oh, that's fabulous, isn't it?
Look at that. And we'll work out the right way around for it in a minute. There, like that. And the 2 stays go here. That's such a nice touch, because the easier way to do it would have been to do it with, let me go to a bigger zoom out, with the closed roof. That's going to make life easier, isn't it? But no, we'll do you both. But that as a piece of casting in itself is just delightful.
I was just going to say, it's semi-hollow and the folds on it look absolutely amazing.
And there's open detail on the ends of the folds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm rather pleased with that. Bear with me while I put it all back in the bag. I know that's not the most interesting TV.
Bear with. Yeah.
So it's a I can't remember, it's around the £40 mark. It's
that's not unreasonable.
No, the best way to buy it, I have to say, is to buy it direct from them. If you order it on Monday, you'll probably have it by Monday of the following week. Their mail order service is absolutely brilliant, and as I'm often quoted for saying, the Hong Kong dollar is yeah, we're at a point where the Hong Kong dollar isn't massively strong against the pound. So you're about 11, 10, 50, 11 Hong Kong dollars to the pound. So, you know, you look at it and go, ooh, that looks expensive because it's so many $100, and then you work it out, it's like £3.75 or something like that. So, you know, the conversion rate's definitely in our favour at the minute. How much of the kit is used?
I'm just going to say that Dan Wood asked that question, and Mike Williams has asked that question.
Pop it up. It's probably 100% of the interior. The engine, a certain amount of most of the suspension set, because basically what he's done is he's engineered the floor to take the Tamiya undercarriage, you know, suspension front and rear, and power plant. I've still got some performance bits left over from my Abarth. I am aware that there is at least one Abarth Giardiniere, and so I might put the twin Webers in mine, and but because I've got them anyway. But the kit, it uses the Tamiya windscreen, the Tamiya front sections of the side windows, because in one of those envelopes is some die cut glass for the rear and for the rear side windows. Everything from the B pillar back, you replace. I just think as a project, it's out of the ordinary enough that it'll give you a bit of a challenge. I do like a challenge. You'll not see many of them on a table. You can walk around the show and you'll see umpteen of this and umpteen of that. This is the one that you'll sit on the base and go, oh, now that's different. Now, the funny thing is I've got a trailer by Zoom on with a Vespa that will go behind that, because that was originally intended to go behind the 500. So I'm thinking to do them as a little set. So that might find its way to the front of the queue. You never know, you're looking a raffle. The other thing is with the guys at Zoom is you order something, and when the parcel arrives, 99 times out of 100, there's something else in the box that you didn't.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. Oh,
a Moto Compacto in 1/24 scale. All right,
very nice.
Yeah, it's 3D printed, and this is a motor scooter, 3D printed, and it's designed to be carried like a suitcase. It's designed to fold up like a suitcase and be carried like that. Everything is in there. It's all complete. I kept seeing this on the website, thinking I might get one of them one day, and then it's just turned up in a parcel. So that's going to have to be built, and that might end up on a base with my Tamiya Honda Prelude when I finish it, because it's Honda anyway.
That's a nice.
There's a couple of them. Yeah, he does lots of nice. If you go digging into his website, you'll find all sorts of nice little things like that, and they're not massively expensive. And as I say, little businesses like this, these are the people we need to be supporting.
Yep, absolutely. No, it looks that. I gotta admit, I love the old Fiat 500s, and
yeah.
Well, I've already got a mountain of stuff to build for Telford. But
on that note, I have a pink BMW M4 that is in need of a little bit more remedial work before I can start putting colour on it, which is one I promised to do for Andy. So, yeah, so that should be at Telford, but that's making reasonable progress. So, but so that came this week, and I thought it's interesting enough that it's worth a little bit of a conversation. That one.
No, absolutely. It's like I say, if you can get some photographs and ping them over to me, and I can brand them up, and yeah, that would be brilliant, Ian. Thank you. God bless you, Governor. Right, shall we dive on with the news? So we've got here new release announcements roundup, May, June.
So we had the Suzuka show at the beginning of May, end of April, which is the spring show, I think.
Yep.
There's a lot of presents at those shows. and there's a general expectation that the manufacturers will go with something new. Platts, who are not only a manufacturer and a decal manufacturer and an aftermarket manufacturer, also a distributor. So you get some European stuff appearing there. If you remember, that was the first time we saw the box art for the 205 on a Platts display about 18 months ago, and all went, is that the best you could do? But there you go. So when you go to that show, you get all the major brands are there, Japanese brands, and you get announcements at these shows, which are then filtered out into the other European shows and stuff. So Aoshima should start, shouldn't we? That's where we start. So Aoshima had theirs. So they started with some 3D print prototypes. So some of these are 3D printed prototypes where they've done a file, they've printed it out, and it's there to show that they are actually in the process of doing CAD. So the first release is this is a 2023 Swift, Suzuki Swift, which is the new Suzuki Swift, which is in the stores now, in hybrid mode and stuff. An unusual choice, but still, it's a road car. Lots of people say, can I get a model of my car? In Japan, with a lot of the brands, yes, you can. The European brands, less so, which is a bit of a blow, really. But that's going to be a nice kit. And they're using this new snap car branding because they've gone to like a semi-snap together process. They're aiming at the same market as Tamiya are with their you don't have to paint it thing. And it's their home market, and they sell umpteen of them. All right. And I'm quite taken with the Swift Sport. I think it's quite a neat little sort of almost hot hatchy kind of thing. So that was quite a nice choice.
I've got to say, sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioning about the being able to build it, and, not having to paint it. That is the raison d'etre, as the French would say, for the projects I'm doing for the Jadlam Cars at Jadlam events, is just building some Tamiya cars, but I don't have to paint them. Andy said, they want to be able to show the general market that, look, this is the result you get if you just carefully glue it together. And it's not the kind of thing I would do, but I can see why. I can see the purpose behind it. And do you know what, Ian? It's great fun just sitting there gluing something and not have to worry about painting it. So, right, next news item. So
the next one along, another road car from Japan. This is the Yaris GR. GR is the new Toyota's new sports car branding. So the GR has been around a little while. This is the 2024 iteration. The Yaris GR is a scary car. I had one come in part exchange at one of the dealerships I worked at, and I took it for a little spin just to see what it was like, and then parked it back up again. Went, I'm never getting in that again, because it scared me to death. It's a proper little thing, and it's nice to see a kit of it. Bearing in mind that we've got the Bell Kits Rally Yaris, which is the full-on motorsports branded car on the shelves now. That would make a decent accompaniment to it. It'd be interesting to see how long it takes them to get it to market. With Aoshima, though, at first glance, I thought that was a 3D print. I'm not convinced that's not a test shot, or at least a printed sprue, 3D printed sprue assembly, because the wipers are separate parts, and so are the mirrors, unlike some of them previously where you could see they were printed at the same time. So that's quite an interesting one, that one. And again, in the snap car, the quick assembly process, and with Aoshima, they're not always particularly expensive. You can pick some of their kits up for good money, and it's Gazoo Racing. Thank you, Sarah Jane. I was in there somewhere. I was struggling to dig it out. So next along, Toyota Supra. Now, this is a JZA80 Supra. And you might say, well, don't Tamiya do one? Yes, they did about 35 years ago, and they still troop it out for good money. The interesting thing is, and there's two photographs of this. They're saying that they're issuing this as a 1996 car in two colors. Now, Aoshima are going the pre-painted body way with a lot of their kits now, so you'll see them issued over the same plastic, issued in a couple of boxes with different color pre-printed bodies. So there's a blue one and there's a grey silver one, and it actually tells you that there's blue mica metallic, and I don't know what the other color is because they've actually got the labels the wrong way around. That's interesting. Anyway, so it's odd, you think, well, why have they done that at this time? And the answer is the third photograph. That's why they've done the JZA. Obviously, last year they started their Fast and Furious series. We got in the series kits numbers 2 and 3 almost straight away, which was the RX-7 from the Fast and the Furious, and the Paul Walker's Skyline, which is Too Fast, Too Furious, the second film. They were both modifications of existing tooling. At that point, Aoshima have not got a JZA 80 Super in their lineup. So what they've done is they've tooled a new one. They're using the underpinnings for it under this kit and under the road going kit. So it allows them to expand the Fast and Furious range and have a road car version as well. No doubt there will be others along the line with various modifications to them, because I know there's at least 4, possibly 5 of the Japanese performance parts manufacturers have done have done body kits for the Supra. So there might be others along shortly. Those of you who are Fast and Furious fanatics will know that is Paul Walker's 6/7 second car that he gives to Dom in the first film. But there you go. Which leads us.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the significance of the 6 seconds? Is that
that's the time across the racing time to make I think it's a quarter mile.
Yeah, so it's like the Kessel Run then.
Yeah. So you can get in the car, and they're street racers, and it's a car that can do the street race or whatever distance in 6 seconds. So that is or 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, whatever it is. But that's going to sell for fun, because the only way to build that car up until recently was a monstrously expensive resin conversion or a lot of swearing if you wanted to chop one up. But there you go. So moving on from that, we then see that they at the same show roll out that, which is a 3D printed Honda S2000 road car, which again you go, well, hang on, Tamiya doing S2000, and they do. So, but if you carry on the concept of, well, we'll do a road car so we can do a Fast and Furious car, that could lead to 2 more Johnny Tran and Suki's S2000s from the first, and I think possibly again the second films. So they're being really clever in how they're choosing to release new subjects to give them that broad spectrum of demand. The Fast and Furious stuff sells to one market, the road car stuff will send to another market. Everybody's happy. But so it's just a nice choice. That and an S2000 is a particularly sexy car. I really like the S2000. An old mate of mine had one. So here we are. They're going to get some more mileage out of their Aventador Liberty Walk. Now, there's 2 different versions of the Aoshima Aventador. There's the original orange car, which then was modified and came out in a variety of forms. The last of which was either the 50th anniversary, the 50th anniversario, which is the yellow one. They did an SV as well, which was a red car on the box, and they did a Roadster, which I built, which I put some pictures on the group recently. I showed a couple of shows ago, because I'd repaired it, if you remember. And there's this sort of almost snappy together pre-finished one. I think this is a variation on the latter, but there's a lot of modification in that car over what's already been out. This is specifically the GT Evo, although I typed Eco on my prep sheet, Evo, but it does say version 1. Now, there is a version 2, which makes that thing look staid. If they manage to do that, then it'll be very interesting to see, because the version 2 car is properly out there, and that ain't far off out there as it is. But I'm fancying one of them for sure, because I have the other versions.
I'm just going to read what Ian's note here. He has written Eco version 1, and then he's put brackets. Whoa. Yeah. Very carry on that. It's
yeah. Well, it was but highly appropriate. Let's be fair, because Dan's just said that is a bit of a looker, and it is definitely a bit of a looker. As I say, it'd be interesting to see how much the original kit, of the original version of the Liberty Walk kit, is retained in that. Because knowing Aoshima, will have a very big box, and about a third of what's in the box you won't use, because the some of their releases, it's like, here's a sprue, you're going to use one bit. But there you go. But that's a great little kit, and it will be a big seller because it's got Liberty Walk on it. LBWK sells kits for fun. But there you go.
Just going back to Fast and Furious, Dean Slater says that kit with Dom's car from Revell will make an excellent, I think he means diorama, where they're jumping over the railway tracks.
Yeah.
And Sarah Jane says the Liberty Walk kits are not far off from Snap Tight kits.
No, they're not. No, and I think that's intentional. They're not aiming them 100% at what we might call our market. They're aiming them at people who just go, Liberty Walk must have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that, and Simon's comment there. Yeah, could we see these snap together, pre-painted, entered into model? You have to rely on the entrant to make the comment that they are. But I have to say, if you've got a judge with any experience around car models, and you'll know I judge competitions reasonably regularly, they will stand out. The finishes are particular. You can tell them apart. But there you go. Yeah, and I agree with Sarah James. They aren't the best instructions in the world, but they are what they are. So this has come along then. So on the quiet, Aoshima issued the new version of the BRZ, which is the ZD8. So that's the 3-car share: Toyota GT86, Subaru BRZ, and the Scion FRS. Those cars came out a long time ago. They got refreshed in 2021 into the new ZD8 model. So new front ends, new everything. And they made a very nice job of the car. Tamiya have issued them as well. But I hadn't realized that Aoshima had issued them until these two pictures popped up. HKS is one of the Japanese styling houses. HKS Performance Body Styling, they call themselves on one of their websites. It looks like there's potentially two boxings coming here. There's this one with the rather spectacular decals in it. And then there's the slightly more staid version. Go back. That one. But there's quite a lot of body kit modifications. They've got wheels and wings and scoops and stuff on them, and they run a lot lower than the stock car. So be interested to see what they've done to make them work. I do like those 6 spokes on those. I think they're raised. I might be wrong. But that's quite, and that graphic set is really cool. So, but that's an interesting. If you're into JDM and the tuner thing, what our American friends might call Ricer, although that's derogatory apparently. then they are going to sell really well. And it's a corking looking car. But there you go. So, and then moving on, they've done some new Initial D releases, some of which are actually kits they haven't done before. So we have a Subaru Impreza. I think in this instance, what they've done is they've painted it in primer to show the bits that are different. So this car is Bunter's Impreza from Initial D Series 3, I think, off the top of my head. I've got them all on DVD. And that has different wheels in it, but it's one of their stock Impreza kits modified. That's a nice release. And then we've got an AE86, which is obviously the Heroes car. There's in one of the boxings that they did for Initial D, you get decals and bits to do the car across, I think, all the episodes of the first 2 series. So Lord only knows what's in that box, because that is kit number 21, and that was about kit number 3. So every time they release them, they do a little bit more, and so that'll be interesting to see what that was like. I think that's the car from series 4 of the anime.
Is this,
then you've
is
got
this the show Initial D? It's a
Yes.
manga
It's an
/ anime series. Yeah.
So it's quite the boxes are all with the anime imagery on them, and they've used the styling from the magazines and from the series. So it's they're nice little kits as well. And you do get some bits in them that are out of the ordinary because they're styling them to the cars in the series. Then there's a 180 SX, which is an RPS 13, which I've got their RPS 13 in its stock version on the shelf. And I had to take a really good look at that to work out what's different. And there's some subtle changes to the side skirts and the bumper, front bumper, and the wing and the wheels. But being an absolute fan of the Nissan Silvia 180 SX series, that will be acquired. There you go. They're quite cool, and they're good value. And then they've followed up with, because they tooled this Civic EK9 up a while ago, and they are really wringing the neck of that tooling. We had some pictures from Russell, thank you Russell, the other day, of one that they're issuing in their pre-painted finishing gloss black, I think it was. And I think it's been out in Japan in 6 different colors of paint finish and things. So they really are getting the most of it. But the EK9 is that kind of Civic that you saw lots of them in the UK at the earlier, in the early days of the styling tuner type meets. Civics were kind of always there. Type R's and things like that, and Type S's, they're a good seller. But that's a nice looking thing, and I like the black wheels on that one.
Dan says, I got a couple of the Initial D cars from Kent Hobbies in their mystery box. They look really nice.
They are. They're good value as well. You just got to.
Damien Mullen says, hello from Rhodes. Don't understand a word of that. It's all Greek to me, but there we go.
Rude.
And then Dean Slater says, it would be nice to see a Super GT GT300 version of the BRZ kit one day. That thing is ballistic.
There is a Japanese market resin conversion for that car that starts with the Tamiya road car. Much like that Fiat 500, there ain't a lot of it that you use. So there's a lot of bits that you cut up and put other bits onto. So, but the last time I saw one for sale, it was going for a price that even I winced at. So yeah, sorry, but there is one out there. It's just there's the Japanese Super GT series has a almost a cult following in Japan. There are people out there doing all sorts of interesting conversions, none of which seem to make it this side of the water, which is a bit of a shame because, yeah, I've done a couple. I did a yellow hat GTR conversion on the Tamiya R35 GTR, which still stands out in a crowd because it's bright yellow. But the kind of, now that Tamiya have almost stopped following that, there was a period of time when Tamiya did everything. The JGT, Japanese Grand Touring Championship, which became Super GT, and they did Lexuses, the Tsurumo Mobile 1 They did Honda NSXs in the early and the later form. They did all these Super GT cars, and they just seem to have stopped. And it's a shame because they were grand kits. They really were grand kits. Yeah, but there you go. Like Dean says, they are some of the best looking GT cars around. Although, having said that, having just spent a large part of the last 24 hours watching Le Mans, the GT3 cars, the Ferrari and this thing, the M4 and stuff like that, are really, really good looking cars now. The GTs went through a period of time where they all looked a little bit bland, but they've got a bit edgier now. There's a bit more going on. The Mustangs in particular were looking really good. But there you go. There's some relevance to that in a bit, so we'll come back to that one in a minute. A couple of meetings ago, we had a conversation about Fujimi and their lack of almost investment. So what do? They make me look a fool. Here we have, I can do that on my own without anyone else help. They've got 2 new tools, and they announced them at Suzuka. And here we have the Honda S660. If you know your Honda history, you'll know there was an S600 and an S800, and they were 2 little 2-seater sports coupes, very much in the midget MGB Sprite kind of style. And this is a modern take on those. I actually saw some pictures of the real car the other day, and it's a very attractive looking car. Fujimi appear to have thrown the boat at that, the kitchen sink and everything, because it looks corking.
That's a lot of parts, isn't it?
That's a lot of parts for a little car as well. It's not a massively big car. I disagree, Dan. I think it's cute, but there you go. It's a power folding roof version, I think, as well. There's one with a power roof, and there's one with a T-top. The lift-off type panel. So yeah, but that's a really, really interesting release. It'd be interesting to see how much it costs. Some of Fujimi's pricing structures can be a little bit scary, so we'll see. Yeah, and then just to join in, they've done an Impreza, which is an all-new tooling as well. So yeah, and definitely looks busy again. Although I have to say those sprues don't look quite as busy as the S600 ones, and the car's about twice the size. So yeah, it might just be because it's a small car and it's crammed everything onto the sprues, but that looks a nice setup. WRX STI, I think it's one of the last of the Imprezas with that designation. I have to admit, I'm not au fait on Impreza. I have a couple of friends who will be quietly screaming at the screen now, telling me what it is and what it isn't, and no doubt I'll get abusive text messages about that later. But it's an Impreza. It's a WRX STI. It's a new tool from Fujimi. That in itself is what we needed to know. The fact that they are still tooling new kits is a major, major benefit.
Sarah Jane says, really need a model of Boatley seriously missing from the GT3 lineup. That doesn't mean anything to me, Ian, but I'm sure it means something to you.
Dean makes a comment that he used to work as a Bentley Continental GT3. The Bentley Continental GT3 car was a racing car based on a barge, which was actually very successful, but it still looked like a barge because it was one of those ones where it's like there was some long shots at Le Mans looking down the Marsan over the last couple of days of the LMP2 coupes, the prototype cars. And so you've got these tiny, low down, long, sweeping sort of enclosed racers, and then the M4's 6 foot taller than them, and it's sitting in the traffic with them. Then the Bentley made the M4 look small. Dean's going to be abusing me in a minute. I can feel it coming in the water. But it's a fantastic car. I kind of always felt it didn't have a place where it was. And it was like, but there you go. Great thing. There you go.
Right.
So,
B-Max.
Yes. Now, we've got two sections here. We've got now imminent stroke shipping. I am aware that some people have got this kit now. I believe there's a couple of people out there who have been sent pre-release examples. I have to say I'm not one of them, which I find it infinitely disappointing, but there you go. This is the previously discussed 2007 YZR-M1. And from what I can see, it looks great. No doubt, top studio, hobby design, Studio 27, add your own selected aftermarket manufacturer to that list, will be throwing stuff at this like it's going out of fashion. But from what I can see, and I'm cracking on with my Suzuki, and it's really coming together nicely. If it's as good, if they've learned from the mistakes they made on the Suzuki, that is going to be an absolute gem of a thing. That's a fully built up example as well. So it looks nice. It's got the right stance, that's for sure. It sits well.
What were the mistakes they made with the Suzuki then?
There were some fit issues, mainly around the frame, because they went for a fairly complicated assembly process, which needed a slightly different engineering solution. And when you put it together, and I've seen it on a few, you can end up with some unsightly gaps. I'm hoping they've resolved that with this one. There you go. Then the next one along, and this is also just about to ship. I believe Hobby Easy were quoting next Wednesday for this to be shipping. This is the RX-7. This is a 1981 Le Mans car. There were two of these. They very cleverly picked the one with the best looking scheme. The other one's predominantly white and looked really boring. The Jun car is gold and black and looks, well, there. Look at it. They showed some sprues as well. There you go. It's a kit that's been long needed. They are. We come back to BMAX a few times, BMAX and Nunu, and they are filling some gaps in. BMAX seems to be concentrating on slightly older cars. Obviously, they've got that BMW 3-litre CSL, and they've done the early 320 and things like that. So they have done some really classic BMWs. They've got a thing going with Mazda because obviously, as we know, there's another one along in a moment. This is quite, around Le Mans aficionados and people like that. It's quite a renowned car. It did good things for Mazda in the sport. Let's just say that. And then 10 years after that race at Le Mans, they did this. Next picture. Here we go. And this is BMAX's 1/12 scale Mazda 787B, which won Le Mans in 1991. And we now have some built-up model images. We've seen some sprue shots. We've seen some 3D renders. We now have a built-up model. So it is real. It does exist. My wallet is running from the room right now. And I did read a comment where someone said there's not a lot of detail in there. Once you look at the car, there isn't a lot to the car once the body panels are off. And if you want to sit and wire that rotary motor, crack on, because I ain't. But there you go. I've got lots of reference material. If you do, I'll send you it. But a lovely car, and a real, yeah. Hearing it running and seeing it running is a visceral experience. It's such an outstanding car, and for them to do that in 1/12 scale and actually, do what looks like, from what I can see and what I can gather, a half decent job. Yeah. It's fabulous. I think I've said it before, but I was at Le Mans in 2011, and when they dragged poor old Johnny Herbert and that car back to Le Mans, and they sent him off in it for a couple of laps, and I was up at the top of the circuit around Tertre Rouge in the museum, and you could hear his gear changes at the Mulsanne hairpin, which is the best part of 1.5 miles to 2 miles away. So, yeah, fabulous thing. And then for them to actually have decided to do that, there is an aftermarket set to this, an update set to it. You get a standard plastic kit, as is often their way, and then there's an upgrade. And I think the photo etch sprues we're looking at there are the upgrade set. Wing end plates and stuff. The decals look really nice as well. I've noticed a couple of their recent issues have had a big sticker on or a graphic on the boxes that says Italian ink printing. I think they're possibly using Cartograph now, but I might be wrong. But they do look good. But there you go. And just to the left of it is a teaser for what's coming next, because this has been announced. GR010, that is a current era Toyota hypercar. I'm torn because I'm not 100% certain whether it's the 25 or the 26 car, and none of their material says which one it is. If they're intending to do the 26 car, it just won Le Mans today. Yeah, so I'll be a very happy man. Even if it's the 25 car, I'll still be a happy man. And no doubt someone will come along and do the bits to turn it into the 26 car. But that's a big news release. That's the first release of an injection molded Le Mans hypercar or World Endurance Championship hypercar that I'm aware of, and I'm pretty certain if I'm not aware of it, there isn't another one. What is interesting is it's not Tamiya. Tamiya historically have had a lot of involvement with Toyota's racing. They did release the one of the last generations of the Toyota racing Le Mans races, I think they did 2018 and 2019's car, and of course the legend that is the TS020 kit and various others that they've done over the years. So I'm not sure whether that implies that they no longer do stuff with Toyota, but it seems a bit of a shame if it does, because obviously they are doing a lot of Honda stuff at the minute. So there you go. But anyway, more power to BMAX. They're going to, send one out to us. If you were noticeable, you saw some decals in the back shots. They've obviously got the decal artwork done for it already, so they can't be not particularly far along with producing the kit. They are legendary for how long it takes them to release items. Some of the Suzuki bike that I'm building was 2.5 years after announcement before we got it, but they seem to be getting a bit quicker at the minute. Perhaps they've just sort of streamlined some of their systems, but that'll be a big seller. That I can feel it in my water. And they've also announced, and again, there's plastic sprues for this, which suggests it isn't actually really that far off. This is a Celica GT4 ST205. So this is the 1995 World Rally Championship car. I think we've touched on this before. At some point, D Model, who did the Sierras, announced they were going to do a 205, and that seems to have disappeared. This suddenly then popped up, and at that point it was an almost ready kit. So 2 and 2 together makes 5. You never know. But this looks a really nice thing. And they've done a whole series of Toyota Group B cars historically and rally cars, so it fits in with their previous releases. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've just decided to go alone on that one.
Sarah Jane says, saw some Tamiya stickers on the LMP2 cars at Le Mans this weekend.
Yes, and I believe the hobby company might have had something to do with that.
I will ask Mr. Farmer when I speak to him tomorrow.
There was a post, there was a post on Facebook that Tamiya UK were tagged into, of the stickers on the back wing of one of the LMP2 cars, and when it did say "with thanks to," so
Interesting.
yeah,
I will clarify that.
Yeah, I think Pete has had an involvement with Le Mans, with Tamiya sponsorship on cars over the years, so it wouldn't surprise me.
This is Pete Binger of the hobby
Pete
company.
Binger, yeah.
Next, MPC.
Yes. This wasn't announced at Suzuka. You will not be surprised to know. This was announced at the New York Toy Fair. And it's the only one of the round two releases that really caught my eye, because I know how old this kit is, but I know how rare it is in a lot of ways. So this is the 32 Chevrolet Roadster. Now, at some point, it was tooled from, roll to next picture, this kit, which is a very old MPC kit, to back to the first picture, to the street rod version. What I'm intrigued to know is whether I can still make the stock car from the box, because I have some pictures of some very lovely hot rod 32 Chevys, which aren't as extreme as that version. So, but we'll see. I'm trying to get one. We'll just say that, shouldn't
we? I'm just going to say, I have just been onto Scale Mates. This is eerily kind of relevant, because one of the boxings of that kit was in there. I'm going to have to shrink the screen down, I'm afraid. Add to stage, remove. It was in their Gangbusters range. There we go.
Yeah, so that's you got the. See, so I'm intrigued by that. So that's the cabriolet or a panel, and is it or? I don't know whether you get one model in that or two. It seems to suggest you might get two, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but yeah, the 32 Chevy, in its time, as ubiquitous as the 32 Ford, although obviously the 32 Ford was kind of everywhere, but there's only ever been one kit of it, and that is it. So I'd like to go and do some of the earlier hot rods that were based on that, which were not as extensively modified as that box art on the new kit suggests. So, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. I'm trying to get an eye on. Trying to get a line on one when it does arrive. I believe it's going into stores next month. So. We'll see.
Okay.
Hasegawa. Yeah, Hasegawa then wander into Suzuka and roll out a new an AE86 GT Apex, which is, if you remember the initial D one, there was an AE86 in there. These all led to cars that we know under different names in the UK, but increasingly we're using the Japanese designations if you're in the modeling or customs market. That's the 1983 car. We've got one picture of it, unfortunately, but it is a sprue shot, so they do exist. They've obviously cut metal and made the kit. So it'll be interesting to see how long it is before that starts popping up in the Japanese retailers. And with the pricing at the minute, particularly with Hasegawa, it might not be that expensive over there. How much it is when it gets over here will be a different conversation, but we will see. This then comes along. So again, this is a 1/12 scale NSR 50. So Hasegawa making a new motorbike kit. There's another one that'll be along in the mo. 2026 September release, I believe this is. But available in 3 liveries. And if you look at it, what they're saying is the sprues in the boxes are molded in different colors to allow you to build the box versions easily. And yeah, so that's another development. It seems that Hasegawa are going the same route. So we've got this. They're all 89 model bikes. So there's quite a nice carbony finish one. And they're all tributey schemes to some of the racing liveries. So red and white, that, and that one which should have Rothmans emblazoned all down the side of it if you know your racing heritage, but obviously doesn't. But yeah, so that's an interesting choice. A nice little, from what I can see and from the information I'm seeing on the Japanese sites, that looks an absolute gem of a kit. I don't think the builds on that table do it the best justice, but that's possibly also the photography, but there you go. But yeah, and Hasegawa, new tool, NSR 50, yeah, it'll sell for fun. And a lot, and again, in their home market, it'll sell really busily. Over here, price might slow it because we all know what's happening with some of these kits when they get to our shores. They are getting it mightily expensive.
Mightily spendy, as Mr. Ian Hartop would say. So
yes, mightily spendy. They've followed up with another one. So here we have 1992 XLR Baja, which is an excellent choice of subject. I'm very, very impressed by that. And I know someone who will be queuing up to buy that kit. Which I seem to remember, I have a photograph somewhere of him coming off one at a rapid rate of knots. A very, very old friend of mine. So I sent him that image when I sent it to you with a sort of an appropriately and not suitable for the show comment on it, and got an equally not suitable for the show response and a where do I get one. So yeah, I think that's going to be a big sell of that, just because of what it is. And then Platts were also showing, so to say, Platts are the distributor for Revell in Japan. So Platts had hold of a test shot set of the 750S McLaren that we are due soon. This is the second major supercar release from Revell this year, obviously after the Rebelletto that we had a little look at a few weeks ago, which, yeah, I need to pull my finger out. But that thing, I'm impressed with the way they're tooling these. That again, from what I can see, that looks a really well thought out thing. McLaren, though, what did Clarkson refer to them as? Fax machines on wheels. But there you go. It's a personal preference, isn't it? But I think the McLaren owners club will probably hoover up the initial production batch. Not sure why there's a full engine in it, though. I don't know how much of that you can see once the deck's down at the back. But there you go. Decals for the seats on the left, and the red bits on that sheet.
I will message Mr. Luke Slaney Hewitt and see if we can bag one for the show, at least photographic top to bottom. So
it looks well detailed. If it's in the same vein as the Lamborghini, it will be lovely. And as we've discussed, thinking back to the Meteor and the work they've done on the 262 and the stuff they're doing with the Hunter, it's nice to see that Luke and the guys he's working with are getting, probably dragging them into the 21st century. They went through a period where they had some great subject matter, poorly executed, for want of a better way of putting it, and didn't seem to necessarily learn the lessons of it from release to release. They did a previous McLaren, and it's one of those typical things where whoever designed the tooling didn't talk to the guy who designed the instructions, and there were odd engineering things around how the wheels worked, stuff like that, and it was because the ones that I always go back to and go that they could have been so much better was they did a set of DTM cars. So they did an Audi A4, a Mercedes, and BMW, I think, DTM cars, and it's probably 20, 25 years ago. And they are fabulous subjects, but they're an absolute bear to put together. Oh, did we lose you for a minute, John?
No, something that crashed out on me for a second, but
okay.
I do apologise.
Yeah, and they're just so now it's nice to see that they're actually moving forward with it. And I don't know, it can't just. I know it's not just Luke that's involved with it. The whoever their design team seems to have decided that be in a position now where they can do what they want to do and do it right, and that's a huge step for Revell. And
I'm just going to say, Mike Williams has just said, going slightly off topic here, but he says, I'm building second test shots of the new Revell 72nd scale 109 E3s. Let's just say they are beautiful. And what you said, Ian, about the design stuff just being kind of in a bit of a no man's land, I remember building the Revell, we're talking about aircraft again, do apologise, folks, but I remember building the Revell 72nd scale F4U1 Corsair, and that was just not a fun kit. There were design decisions in that were really bizarre. I gave up with their Spitfire Mark V because I just couldn't make sense of it. Similarly, I didn't get on with their Hawk either, because there was just something about it where it was almost there, but not quite there. Whereas Luke's come in and he's applied the same attention to detail that he did when he was working for Airfix, and he's very thorough. And
I mean, I don't know. We don't know that it's just because of Luke, do we? But you know, whatever's going on in there now is much more focused, and the work that they're doing is putting the brand back where it belongs. So it's nice. I mean, airplanes are the kryptonite. Occasionally, I will buy an airplane model, and then I'll be addicted to them for 6 months. I'll have a huge collection, and I'll get rid of them. And unfortunately, that is kind of my issue. But I had a proper look through the Meteor recently, because I'd not had a chance to have a proper look at the box, and get in the box and get a feel for what was on the sprues and stuff. It's a mightily impressive model.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have to say, and I will say this, it's better than the Lamborghini. And I really do like the Lamborghini, but there's something better about it. I just wish some of the plastic they use is there's a bit too much recycled propylene going in there. You know what I mean? It's got that kind of vaguely waxy feel to it.
Trust me, I know all about poor polystyrene. So,
and I think, but that's very much a European thing, and that, you know, they have to have a certain amount of recycled element to them and things like that legally, and they have to be recyclable. I get that. To me, his stuff's still recyclable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So screws. So it's like that dark grey plastic Airfix are using. The first one, I think they did the Meteor in it, the Meteor F8, FR9, didn't they? And they did the Spitfire, the Mark 9 Spitfire in it. That turns an average kit, which was anything molded in the pale blue, into an excellent kit simply by changing the plastic.
Right. Yes. We are coming towards the end of
my list. Yeah, here we go. So we've through this, haven't we? So I don't know if any of you watched the Nürburgring 24-hour race, and I've sent you some clips of this car, Jonathan. BMW did, under a thing called built M3 touring, i.e. estate, GT3 Evo, and I think my spell checker is adjusting Evo to
Eco again, yeah.
Eco in my document as well. It's M3. It's your go shopping car, but they turn it into this.
That's more the kind of car I would see down Waitrose. He said, sounding like the most horrible snob imaginable. But rather than a racetrack. But but it's this is down at Waitrose, but with add-ons.
Yeah, so they built this. There was a big follower interaction and all that stuff. Yeah, and as Sarah Jane says, it was an April Fool's joke. But BMW actually ended up building it because everybody went, yes, you've got to do it. That thing, one-off car, raced at the Nürburgring in a class that gave it a little bit of an advantage over some things because it was in like an experimentals class, but it finished 5th out of over 100 entries. Yes, Dean. Apparently the Logan's coming. I'll come back to that in a minute. But so Area 71 slot cars are in the process of doing the car as a slot car. That's the slot car body we see pictures of there. It's 3D printed resin, and it's intended to be used as a slot car. They're very, very light, apparently. And the slot car guys love the Area 71 stuff by all accounts because they do a lot of the, again, they do the hypercars. They do the Ferrari that's won them on the last couple of years and things like that. As long as we've been doing this show, they've been talking about doing a range of kits full of static kits with interiors and proper floors and stuff. This is coming in that range. They are promising it, like seriously promising it. And the other one they're doing is the next set of pictures, which makes me go, ooh, because that's the Le Mans Aston Martin Valkyrie, which races under the name of Aston Martin 4 Racing. A fabulous thing. Unfortunately, one of them broke quite spectacularly in the middle of the night, so I'm disappointed with that. But there's a couple of pictures of it, I think, and there is a beast of a thing. V12 powered hypercar, and they're going to do that as a kit. So I'm just in the process of working out how much I'll get for a kidney. So I can afford both of them because
what scale are these, Ian? Are these 30
well, they do. The thing with their ranges is they do, because they 3D print, they can do them in different scales. So for the slot car guys, that kit's available in both 30 seconds, so it matches the Scale Extra platform, and 24th, so it matches the Carrera platform. That's coming as a 24 scale kit.
That does look,
it looks like it's going to chew your leg off. Let's be fair.
That kind of looks like the Star Destroyer from Star Wars. It's just something about it. It just looks ominous. There are there's some very good clips of it running last week. Because it ran last year at Le Mans and wasn't developed enough. This year it's been well off the pace. I think the balance of performance thing did for it, and the weather changed over the test and race weekend, so I think they'd gone one route and it didn't quite work. It's a shame because they are absolutely beautiful cars. I'm gonna have to have the M3 simply because of its ludicrousness. But I suspect that's going, if they get that out as a kit, that's going to sell really well for them. The European market, the German, Dutch, Belgian market is going to just hoover that up. They're Italian, are Area 71 slot cars. I think they're based in Turin somewhere or something like that. It'd be interesting to see what they're like. I do talk to them occasionally. They've been promising various things, and they're just, but the problem is their slot car kits sell so well that they're behind. You know, they're constantly producing to meet demand, so focus on other stuff isn't. It'd be nice to see them actually circulate, because they're also doing, or they've said they're going to do the 250 Testarossa
So the 1958, 59 cars, Ferrari cars, which are Mille Miglia, Targa Florio, Le Mans type things. But they've got a list as long as your arm, and they do a huge range of slot cars. Yeah, actually no, I'm gonna disagree with Sarah Jane there. I really liked the sound of the Cadillac, which was a V8. There's something about a V8 giving it some blart that, yeah, it's got a bit of edge to it. There you go. But that's, there you go. It's a matter of preference, isn't it? If they do it and they're successful, then happy days. Price will worry me. We're gonna have to see. Their slot car kits come in at around the 80, 24 scale, around the 80, 90 euros mark. So anything they do as a full build kit, it's got to be more than that. So I'm probably looking at 120 to 150 quid a kit. But when you look at what Alpha are doing at 150 quid as well, it's comparable, you know. So we'll see.
What is the price? What is the price today of the average kind of regular slot car model?
Well, that's the problem now, because the slot car market's also gone the collectibles route.
Right.
So there's presentation boxes are plenty. You know, here's your model of the car as it raced at such and such a race in a nice case. But there was a were they Spanish? There's a company called Fly, and this is 20 years ago nearly. Fly were big for that. You'd get an ugly box with a couple of models in it and a plaque and everything. And 300 and 400 quid was not unusual. But I don't know whether they're even still going, because I've been out of that market, out of that business for a long time. That's from a previous life. But scale electric cars are 30 quid a shot, more now.
I've just gone online. I'm just having a look here. Between around about 40 to 50 pounds, apparently.
Yeah, I remember when they were a fiver, and at 14, 12 and 13, I thought they were expensive. So yeah.
Right. Well, we've just been
Sorry.
looking at beautiful motor vehicles that go very, very fast. Let's go for the polar opposite now, shall we, Ian?
You see, the thing is, I still think that's a beautiful vehicle. There's something about the S-Way, the Iveco S-Way, that looks great. And this is Italeri's new show truck release. They've obviously done a series of the show trucks. There's some Scanias and stuff and all sorts of lovely liveries. That's got a bath all over it. And you know I'm a bath boy. So I suspect that might have to be acquired. That decal sheet's going to be fun.
Well, again, I will have a word with Mr. Farmer.
I'm never gonna. I might as well just retire, and all I can do, building them. But yeah, that's a really cool thing, though. I just think that livery is fabulous.
I will have a word with Mr. Farmer, because I get the feeling that if this is a important new kit from Italeri, probably need one for Telford.
I know Jen's doing some bits from Truckwise as well, isn't she? So that's fine. I'm very much of the, if it's got 4 wheels, I'll build it. And that's just lovely. But then they've done this. This is the artwork. You remember that conversation we had about how Revel's Revel looked in its box, and I went, that box art's awful. Italeri have just knocked it out of the park with that. This is the artwork for their 1/12 scale
Lancia Delta HF Safari.
Yeah, Lancia Delta HF Safari. So it's the Safari Rally car. You can build it as any of the 3 cars that would enter that year, and so it's a revision of their existing Lancia Delta, which has been around a few years. Which isn't a bad kit, you know. It's very much in the vein of the Stratos that I did last year. Just a little bit older, so a little bit further down the learning curve. There are a few fit issues with it, but they've done all the bits extra to put in the box to do that, and it's wonderful. That box art alone deserves to sell an extra 25% of the kits, because that is fabulous. Yes, that is my comment. Yes.
I was just going to say a comment from Mr. Ian Hartup, who said, "God, but that artwork is epic, and it's lovely. It's
yeah. I know the first time I saw it, I was like, no, that's got to be someone else messing around. And then I saw a bot. Someone's got a bot shot on one of their websites, and then I saw a bot shot on a show report from Italy that I found off of that thing where you go clicking link to link to link, and then it was there, and then I tried to get back to it and couldn't ever find it again. Facebook does that to us, doesn't it? And there's a shot of that on the bot on a stand or in someone's possession at a show in Italy, and I was like, oh my god, that I'd buy it just so I could frame the box art. Just
that is beautiful box art. It's
that decal sheet's going to be busy.
Yeah, it's not going to be cheap. Let's put it that way. I'd be interested to know what what's, because with Cartograph they work to certain sizes, and it'd be interesting to know if that decal sheet exceeds their certain sizes.
Well, if you remember, the Stratos had 3 bigger than A5 sheets in it.
Yep.
And then a 12 scale kit, it's a big. I mean, a Delta's bigger than a Stratos. So those martini stripes down the side. I've read somewhere that they've put masks in it, so you spray it white and then you spray the red using the pre-cut masks. That's a nice touch.
Yeah,
and would make it a lot easier to build. I wish they'd done that with the Stratos, to be fair, because it would have made life a lot easier. But that is, there's something about a martini scheme as well. Absolutely. I'm not entirely sure, Kev. No, I'd hope so.
He says, "Do you get the zebras in the kit?" No, I think Kev's just horsing around. So, but that box art does look. That's beautiful. That's frameable, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's almost the all right. Okay, Dean. Yeah, that would fit. So if it's 2 A4 sheets of decals to do the martini scheme, because they've done 2. They've done a white one and they've done a red one, which is I've got one. I've got it in 24 scale. San Remo, the 1989 car. Which, and they're all martini liveries to some channel. So, 2 A4 sheets of decals. You know what that's going to cost, Jonathan. You're adding it up in your head, aren't you? And then it's how many colours do you need, isn't it? How big is it going to be? How many colours you're going to need? And then you get the bill, the thing that says this much, and then you go and have a stiff drink. Yeah, but they are the best decals in the world, so.
Cartograph are just genius when it comes to printing decals. They're just such a joy to work with. They really are.
Back in the day, we'll get out the wibbly wobbly back in the day machine.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get that as an effect. Yeah,
we need a wibbly wobbly effect.
Yeah,
Microsoft were the benchmark at one point, weren't they? For aircraft decals back in the day. They came in an envelope, microscale and super scale. So super scale became microscale. Microscale do all this stuff, and and they were the benchmark for a long time. And some of the Italian stuff. Remember those matte finish ones that you used to get in early Italeri kits and things like that? That were ropiers.
They just would not conform, and they would not stick. They were beautifully printed.
Yeah, but they were phenomenally printed.
Even on a gloss finish, they just would not stick and they would not conform. I ended up using Beatty's liquid cement to try and get them to, anyway.
That's where I learned the trick about the trick of a dusted coat of cellulose.
Yeah, not a bad idea, that.
That was definitely, everything was puckered when you tried it. Make sure you had your nappy done up first. But they almost seemingly out of nowhere and that's the only way I can think of to put it. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. All right, okay. Cartograph appear and become the benchmark. And yeah, so and as Mike W just pointed out, Microscale still print extra decal sheets, and they're very, very good, and they're very, very compliant. And if you use Microset and Microsol, which are basically, let's be fair, are formulated to use with Microscale decals, because that's what they were for, they perform wonderfully. But Cartograph have kind of got this combination going of fabulous color resolution, fabulous color strength and density, brilliant resolution, and the ability to make them, they will go around some of the weirdest shapes without a great deal of effort. I don't use decal solvents on most of my models because I use a hairdryer and water. So if I'm trying to get a decal around a complex shape like that, and as Sarah Jane will agree, LB and SK are busily testing our skills with decals, because some of the decal sheets they're doing for the Le Mans races and things like that, where you've got a whole roof section and you have to get it to conform to all this built-in detail, and they go down. Cartograph do that, but we kind of expect them to now. It's like we're kind of almost spoiled by it, aren't we? So, I think about early Airfix decals. You got the roundels and a code, and if you were lucky, you got a serial number and a fin flash, and that was it. There was no more, and that was it. That's all we had to put on a Spitfire or a Hurricane or whatever we were building, And now I look at the decal sheets I've got.
Dan Wood makes a very good point. He says, I'm at the stage now where I'd rather buy a competent kit with Cartograph decals than a stunning kit with iffy decals.
Good point.
Yep.
Good point. I think we're with it. Let me just show you this. So they've got two decal sheets here. I'm going to move the program thing out of the way. This is, yeah, it's that. So that's an SK sheet. I'll move my beer away out of the way because you don't want to spill. That's an SK sheet. So SK are they're linked in with Zoom On. I'm not entirely sure how that relationship works, so I'm not going to say it one way or another. But Zoom On do sell a lot of their stuff. They're very well presented. This is the M4 in the Rover scheme that ran at Spa in 2023. There's a double-sided destruction sheet. We'll come back to it. And you've got, that's template carbon fiber, so you should be able to see there's a carbon fiber. But if you could see that one, look, that one actually has the change of direction of the weave where it wraps
my goodness
around.
me.
Yeah. This is the general stuff. And this is a bit more carbon fiber going on here, look. And the more sponsorship information. This is that's a BMW. That's the standard BMW GT M4 GT3. So that's intended for one of my new kits. That's kind of what car guys, race car guys, likes of myself and Sarah Jane over there and other people are building. So we don't want a decal sheet that doesn't conform.
Yep.
We want a decal sheet where we put it on and it does exactly what it says on the tin. So the likes of these are silk screen printed, I believe, in the Far East. But this is an LB sheet for another M4. This is an Evo, so this requires a conversion as well, which I've got. LB sheet. There's a bit more to this one. That's the instruction for the conversion. So you've got how to paint which bits are black and which are before you start on the decals, then the decals.
Oh, that's
but
clever.
again, you've got another sheet of carbon fiber. This is a different manufacturer's interpretation of the same thing. It's a busy little cheap piece of paper, that. Let's just say that. And this is the livery. So remember what I was saying about how getting decals to conform. That decal there, that is a one-piece roof decal. Okay. This is the roof that goes onto. Can you see all the molded in detail and the rivet heads and the emergency exit panel and the straight lines and that goes there. So the progress that has occurred with decal manufacture over the years, and I think a lot of that was led by Cartograph, I have to say. I don't know where these. It doesn't actually say on any of these sheets where they're printed, but these are what we live and breathe now as car modelers, and the quality that we're getting from these manufacturers is just And then so when I buy a kit, thinking I'm going to get a Cartograph sheet or an SK produced sheet or whatever, and I get something lackluster, then I'm going to be peed off. So like Dean said, was it Dean that said, I'd rather have a poor kit, a medium quality kit with a good deco sheet than a great quality kit with a poor deco sheet, because the decals will spoil it.
I do believe that was Dan. So
was it Dan? So I do apologize.
It was Dan. Yeah, I think it was Dan. Right.
There you go. Sorry. There you go. So Savina's Junior, yeah. So I don't know. Have you got any other business?
No, I haven't got any. I haven't got any other business. I think the only other well, I'll get my teeth in a minute. The only any other business I've got is in between now and the next car show. I've got another Jadlam event to do, which I'm looking forward to. So I'm building the modern Porsche for that one. What you got there, Mr. H? What was that? What was that?
Did you not notice this? I did the thing.
I can't see what it is. Let's just enlarge it. Oh, is that like Gundam or something?
It is a Gundam.
Yeah.
I've been intrigued by what everybody raves about them. That was 25 quid.
Yeah.
That's madness. So anyway,
the biggest plastic kit range in the world, Gundam.
Yeah, so I'm told. I'll tell you what,
the biggest plastic kit company in the world, which is Bandai.
Yeah, I was down at the model shop at Barnsley, Tankersley Model Workshop, Hobby Workshop. There's two sides to it, and I can always get them the wrong way around. So Hobby Workshop, I think, is the side that deals with Games Workshop and that stuff, and Model Workshop is kits and that. You know, when you walk into somewhere and the paint range is just, they've got everything. But they have a full Mr. Color rack now with Mr. Hobby and Mr. Color. And that was on the shelf. And I was chatting with my friend, and so I keep wondering what they're like to build these ones. And I thought, well, for 25 quid, what the hell? I'll have a go. And I'm impressed by it, a little bit intimidated by it. But I've been watching lots of videos of people making Gundams. I've listened and watched and learned, and some of the tools that we've discussed over the last couple of years that are acquired from AliExpress and places like that are intended for these things. That's where they originated from, and now I see how they use them. There was a thing I had. I don't know what I've done with it. The tool I had with like a curved scraper blade that I kept looking at, thinking, was it for, I looked at it and thought, well, it's for cleaning down like tubular sections of stuff, taking mold lines off, and it's not. It's for cleaning out the ball socket holes.
Yeah.
So and I was like, oh, oh, that's what it's for. Having already paid £6 and or whatever from trying it's sitting on the bench, it was like, yeah. But it was pretty, so I had to have one. So it's yeah, I think we say this often. We are in a position where the hobby's strong for us. That could send me. I won't. I'm going to do my very best not to let that send me down a rabbit hole. It was more of a one-off just to see what it's like. But I come back to where we were with decals and stuff. Rate of progress is always the thing. Every time we turn around, there's something new, something different, something improved, and I think we should be grateful in a lot of ways for that. See a lot of negativity written about the hobby. A lot of people who are negative about stuff. It's like, I bought this and this. Right, okay. Build it. Do your best to correct it. If you don't want to correct it, someone else will have done a 3D printed option or whatever. Or alternatively, get rid of it and do something else.
Yeah.
You don't need to bitch about it. This thing is attracting a certain amount of negative. And I'm looking at it and going, well, I've got 6 now. And I'll build all 6 of them and I'll be very proud of them when they're finished. And they'll look like M4s.
I'm totally with you on that. And I was going to say that, oh God, I've forgotten what I was going to say there. But yeah, it's the thing is, in these days, an average month of new releases equates to pretty much a whole year back in the 1980s.
Yeah,
it's the speed. I think technology has had a part to play in it, in as much as things can go from kind of like ideas to production. Standard injection molded kits, they can go much quicker these days. And certainly CAD speeds up the process. It speeds up the design process. It speeds up the tool cutting process. You're not kind of like having to build 3 times up masters and then have somebody pantograph them down. It doesn't work that way these days. So it's much quicker, and the results are much finer. The fidelity is through the roof. Yeah. So I'm with you. I as we say on this show quite frequently, what a time to be a scale modeler.
Yeah.
And with that context, if you're not getting joy from this hobby, you might be in the wrong hobby. I hate to say it, but
yeah. I mean, was it Dean saying? Dean's last comment there. It's not a cheap hobby, but the quality and accuracy of the kits and tools has never been better. Absolutely spot on. That thing about model making is a cheap hobby probably hasn't really applied since the 60s and 70s. When I used to walk the proverbial, I'll go to Woolies, there'll be something I've not seen before on the search shelf. As a 12-year-old or a 9, no, I'm thinking. So I started modeling. My first model was I was 6. I built a Spitfire with my dad, the J.E. Johnson issue of the FX Spit Mark 9.
Pretty much the same as me, yeah.
Yeah, and by the time I was 8, 9, I was building on my own. By the time so I got my IPS member for my 13th birthday. I've been a member ever since. So I give back. I try and give back to the hobby everything I got from the hobby.
Yeah,
I've got good friends. I've had a business in this hobby, which, in retrospect, I would have quite happily still been doing given the chance, but it didn't work out. I've been welcomed into people's homes that knew nothing of me because of this hobby. And you cannot not give back to something that's done you that much good by doing things like we do, like you do. Here's how to do this little thing. Here's a little tip you might know. I love doing that kind of stuff, and it makes me happy to do stuff because I think 20, 30, 40 years ago, people like Jesse Wright, Doug Feeney. I have spent umpteen hours sat with Doug Feeney, learning how to do back four models the Doug Feeney way. Some of that talent and skill that he showed me, and I almost kind of learned, not all of it, I still use those techniques to this day, you know. And so coming on here and doing what we do, and I love doing these, you know I do, it just makes me happier that I can give people back something, you know. So when you said, well, no, it's good of you to do that research, no, I was doing it anyway. It just made it easier because I knew you weren't particularly well and it needed sorting. So that's what we do. But yeah, what we do need is Drew to come back on soon with that cat.
Yeah,
because
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
That little ginger thing needs to be on the show.
On that note, a big thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight, and of course, a big thank you to Ian for carrying so much of the admin for tonight's show. God bless you, Mr. Harv. God bless you, sir. God bless you. Fingers crossed, we'll be back next week for a regular Sunday service. And oh my goodness me, I've already been stacking up the stuff to talk about next Sunday. Looking at you, Armour and IBG. So,
yes, I saw that.
Yes,
are we gonna have a fight off between IBG and Armour?
I don't know. Anyway,
that'll be an interesting fight.
So until the next time, thank you for tuning in, folks. Thank you for giving us how long have we been on for? Nearly an hour and 40 minutes. So that's over an hour and a half of your precious lives. So we do appreciate that. Like I say, fingers crossed, we'll be back next week. Until then, as always, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.